The story opens under the relentless blaze of the New Mexico sun in the late 1800s, where the frontier is a land of dust, danger, and divided loyalties. Elena Marlowe, just 20 years old, stands at the edge of her family's ranch, watching a horizon lined with tension. Her father's once prosperous homestead now lies on the verge of ruin. The fences are falling. The cattle are thin, and the debts hang heavier than the desert heat. Bandits raid the trade routes, and Apache warriors, enraged by the settlers' broken treaties, strike back with merciless precision. The settlers retaliate in kind, and the cycle of blood seems endless. One night, after weeks of silence from her father, Elena overhears him in the dimly lit parlor speaking to a group of armed men. Their words chill her. They talk not of crops or cattle, but of surrender, of sacrifice. The ranch is cornered. The Apache have demanded reparation for the killing of one of their own warriors by a settler patrol led by none other than her father, Samuel Marlowe. To avoid a massacre, Samuel has agreed to meet the Apache Council under a white flag of truce. But the price of peace, Elena learns in horror, is her hand in marriage to the fiercest of their warriors, Chayton. A man whispered about across the territory. Chayton, known as the Wolf of the Red Mesa, is said to have led the raid that destroyed half a dozen ranches in retaliation for broken promises. His very name is uttered in fear. To settlers, he is a savage killer. To his people, he is a protector, fearless, cunning, and unyielding. Elena has heard tales of him since she was a child, told in trembling voices around campfires. Never did she imagine that her father would trade her future to such a man. When she confronts her father, her voice trembles with disbelief. "You would give me to a man who hates us?" she cries. But Samuel, his face lined with guilt and exhaustion, answers, "I would give anything to keep you alive, Elena, to keep this land from burning." He explains that Chayton demanded no cattle, no gold, only her hand, a gesture, he said, to end the blood feud. Elena senses there is more beneath Chayton's demand, but fear overshadows curiosity. Her father insists she has no choice. The following days pass like a fever dream. Villagers avoid her gaze. The women whisper pity. The men speak of honor and survival. Her younger brother, Thomas, tries to argue, but even he cannot change their father's mind. On the morning of her departure, the sky is a burning orange, the color of surrender. Elena is dressed in a simple white gown, a symbol of purity in a world that has long lost its innocence. Her mother's silver locket, the only piece of the past she clings to, hangs at her throat, though it has been broken for years, the clasp refusing to close. As she mounts the horse that will carry her toward the Apache camp, her heart feels heavier than stone. 2 soldiers escort her to the canyon where the peace meeting will take place, but once the Apache warriors appear from the shadows of the red cliffs, the soldiers retreat, leaving her alone. Chayton stands at their center, tall and motionless, his face unreadable. His eyes meet hers, dark, piercing, and strangely calm. He nods once, and the warriors part to let her pass. The wind carries the scent of sage and smoke. Elena's pulse pounds as she realizes there is no turning back. The marriage will seal her fate, and perhaps save her father's life. But as the drums begin to echo from the village below, she wonders if peace can ever be born from fear. In that moment, one thought grips her heart. She is walking not toward a man, but into the unknown heart of a world that might consume her. It is the bargain of blood, and she is its price. The Apache village lies nestled in the hollow of a red canyon, surrounded by cliffs that seem to guard it like ancient sentinels. When Elena first sees it, she feels as though she's entered another world, a place alive with rhythm and ritual, yet wrapped in silence. The air hums with the scent of smoke and sagebrush. Warriors, Women and children emerge from their lodges to watch the pale-skinned stranger ride in behind Chaitin. Every pair of eyes follows her, filled with caution, suspicion, and unspoken curiosity. To them, she is not a bride, she is a symbol of surrender. Elena's fear deepens when she dismounts and her escort departs, leaving her entirely in the care of the people she's been taught to fear. The women whisper to one another in their native tongue, their gazes sharp as knives. The children hide behind woven skirts, peeking out at her as though she were a ghost. Chaitin speaks briefly with the tribal elders before motioning for her to follow. His expression gives nothing away, neither warmth nor anger, only an unshakable calm. He leads her to the center of the village, where a wide circle has been drawn in the dust, lined with stones and small fires. The sun dips lower, casting long crimson shadows that paint the canyon walls in shades of gold and blood. This, she realizes, is where the ceremony will take place. The Apache council gathers, their faces solemn beneath the weight of ancient tradition. Drums begin to thrum, slow at first, like a heartbeat, then faster, echoing through the canyon like thunder. Elena is dressed not in the white gown she left home in, but in a ceremonial robe woven of deep earth tones given to her by one of the elder women. The robe smells of cedar and smoke, heavy on her shoulders, binding her to this strange fate. Her hair has been unbraided, flowing freely, a symbol of a new life. She stands beside Chaitin, uncertain of what words or gestures are expected of her. The chief of the tribe, an older man with eyes like obsidian, raises his hand for silence. He speaks in Apache, his voice resonant and slow. Elena catches only fragments through a translator, words like union, blood, peace, and fire. Chaitin steps forward, his face illuminated by the flickering flames. A small bundle rests in his hands, wrapped in patterned cloth. He kneels and places it before her, murmuring something that makes the crowd fall silent. The translator hesitates, then whispers to Elena, "He offers you his wedding gift." Her breath catches. A gift? From a man she barely knows, a man who could have claimed her as property? She stares at the bundle, unsure if she should touch it. But Chaitin simply inclines his head, waiting. Slowly, she kneels and accepts it, her fingers trembling as she lifts it from the ground. The murmuring of the crowd swells, confusion, disbelief, even disapproval. Warriors exchange uneasy glances. Among the Apache, warriors give gifts of weapons, horses, or trophies of conquest, not something small and wrapped in mystery. The drums resume, their rhythm softer now, almost reverent. The chief continues the ritual, marking the circle with ash and fire, declaring the union sealed by the earth and sky. When it ends, Chaitin turns to her and meets her gaze fully for the first time. There is no cruelty there, no mockery, only a quiet strength that unsettles her more than anger ever could dot as darkness falls. The village erupts in chants and song. The people dance around the fires, celebrating the peace that has cost them their fiercest warrior. Elena stands at the edge of the circle, clutching the strange gift to her chest, feeling its weight like a secret. She senses that whatever lies inside will change everything she thought she knew about him and about herself. Later, as she's led to the lodge that will now be her home, the whispers follow her through the smoke. Why would the Wolf give such a gift? They murmur. Elena doesn't yet know the answer, but in her heart, she feels the first spark of curiosity piercing through the fear. Something about this man defies every story she's been told, and the gift she carries, still unopened, seems to pulse with meaning, as though it holds the soul of the fiercest warrior who ever lived. The night is eerily quiet after the ceremony. The fires burn low, and the sounds of drums have faded into distant echoes that mingle with the desert wind. Inside the small lodge Chaitin has given her, Elena sits alone. the faint glow of embers casting long shadows across the earthen walls. The bundle, his mysterious wedding gift, rests before her on a woven mat. For hours she stares at it, uncertain whether to open it or not. The whispers of the villagers still ring in her ears. Why would the wolf give such a gift? Her hands tremble as she reaches out. The cloth feels rough beneath her fingers, its edges tied with a simple strand of leather. She loosens the knot and slowly unfolds the covering. Inside lies a small wooden box, hand-carved with symbols she doesn't recognize, intricate lines that seem to flow like rivers meeting at the horizon. The craftsmanship takes her breath away. When she lifts the lid, a faint scent of cedar drifts out, and nestled within is something that makes her heart stop, a silver locket. Tarnished, delicate, unmistakable. Elena gasps. She knows it instantly. It was her mother's locket, the one her father had given her mother on their wedding day, the one that disappeared years ago during a raid. She remembers crying as a child when it was lost, believing it had been taken by Apache hands. How could it possibly be here now, in this man's possession? At that moment, the flap of the lodge lifts, and Chayton enters silently. The firelight dances over the sharp planes of his face, his eyes dark but steady. He sees the open box in her lap and speaks softly, his tone neither commanding nor cruel. "You recognize it," he says, his English clear but accented. Elena's voice breaks. "This was my mother's. It was taken. Years ago." How do you have it?" Chayton kneels across from her, resting his forearms on his knees. "I found it," he replies simply. Then, after a pause, he adds, "Long before you were promised to me." His gaze drifts to the fire, and his voice lowers, almost as though he's speaking to the flames themselves. "There was a raid, not by my people. Outlaws, wearing Apache paint to hide their faces. They attacked a caravan of settlers. Your father's, I think. Many were hurt. I came upon what was left afterward. I found this among the ashes." Elena's breath catches. "You saved it?" "I kept it," he says, "because when I found it, I saw the picture inside, a woman and a child, you." For a long moment, Elena can't speak. The locket feels heavy in her palm, suddenly more than just metal. It is a bridge between the two worlds that have been tearing each other apart. She looks at him, her fear softening into confusion. "Why give it to me now?" Chayton meets her eyes, his expression unreadable. "Because I wanted you to know that I did not ask for you as payment," he says slowly. "I asked for you because fate has tied our paths since that day. You were the girl whose eyes I saw once, across a canyon when our worlds were at war. I remembered those eyes." Elena feels her pulse quicken. She doesn't remember that moment, but something inside her, something unexplainable, stirs at his words. The fierceness in him that once terrified her now feels different, protective, not possessive. Outside, the murmurs of the village grow faint as night deepens. The two sit in silence, separated by firelight and years of hatred between their peoples, yet connected by a single, impossible token, the locket that defied time, loss, and blood. When dawn finally touches the canyon walls, the whispers begin spreading through the village. The wolf gave his bride her past, and though many don't understand it, some begin to wonder if perhaps their fiercest warrior's heart is not made of iron after all. For the first time since her arrival, Elena feels something flicker inside her. Not love, not yet, but trust's fragile beginning. The locket, glinting in the pale light, is no mere ornament. It is proof that in the heart of the fiercest warrior lies a secret, one that might change them both forever. Days blend into weeks beneath the vast skies of the canyon, and Elena slowly begins to understand what it means to live among the Apache. Life in the village is unlike anything she has ever known, structured not by clocks or church bells, but by the rhythm of nature itself. The rising sun dictates labor. The cry of an eagle marks the time for rest. Every task has meaning, every silence a purpose. Yet to Elena, it is both beautiful and suffocating. Her mornings begin before dawn. She wakes to the smell of smoke and the soft murmur of women grinding maize. Though many of them still avoid her, one elder woman, Tala, takes pity and begins teaching her the basics of their language, words for water, sun, home, and peace. Elena repeats them quietly as she helps fetch water or tend the fire. It is through these small acts that she begins to see the tribe's soul, not savage, as she had been told, but deeply bound by respect and community. And yet, she feels the constant pull of two worlds. When she catches her reflection in the surface of a water jar, she sees a stranger, a woman caught between her father's blood and her husband's people. The silver locket, now polished and mended, rests against her throat as her only link to her past. At night, she sometimes dreams of her father calling to her from beyond the canyon, and she wakes with tears in her eyes, uncertain where her heart belongs. Chaitin remains a mystery. He is seldom at her side, often away with hunting parties or tribal councils, his presence fleeting as the desert wind. When he returns, he speaks to her little, yet always with quiet patience. Once, when she accidentally cut her hand while gathering cactus fruit, he wordlessly cleaned the wound and wrapped it with a strip of cloth from his own garment. There was no speech, no gesture of ownership, only care, given without demand. That night, she could not sleep, her thoughts spinning around the contradiction of the man called the Wolf. But harmony does not last long. Within the village, not everyone welcomes peace. Some warriors whisper that Chaitin has been weakened, that marrying a white woman has softened his spirit and angered the ancestors. Elena feels their stares wherever she walks. She hears their low, mocking tones and sees the younger men turn away when Chaitin approaches. A few women whisper curses under their breath when she passes. Only Tala, the elder, speaks up for her, saying, "The spirits watch her. You will see." One evening, as a red storm brews on the horizon, Elena finds herself outside the village walls, standing near the river. Chaitin appears silently behind her. "You should not wander alone," he says. She turns, her heart startled not by fear, but by how his voice carries more concern than reprimand. She tells him, "I don't know where I belong." For a long time, he says nothing, only looks out at the storm. Then he answers, "The land belongs to no one, and yet it holds us all. You belong where your courage leads you." His words linger in her chest long after he walks away. That night, the winds rage, tearing through the village. Tents flap and fires die under the onslaught of sand and rain. Elena works alongside the women to secure the lodges, her hands raw, her body trembling. When dawn finally breaks, the destruction is clear. Roofs torn, supplies lost, and children crying. But the tribe endures. For the first time, some of the women smile at her. One presses a blanket into her arms and murmurs, "You are one of us now." In the days that follow, something shifts. She is no longer the outsider chained by fear. She is learning, enduring, and slowly becoming. Yet the peace she begins to feel is fragile, for beneath the calm, Chaitin's enemies within his own tribe are stirring, and Elena, caught between two worlds, begins to realize that her presence may soon ignite the fire she was meant to extinguish. The fragile peace that has settled over the Apache village begins to crack like thin ice under pressure. The storm may have passed, but darker winds are gathering, winds of distrust, jealousy, and vengeance. Elena can feel it in the air each morning as she walks through the village. Conversations halt when she passes. Eyes follow her every move. What once was wary curiosity has turned to open hostility. She doesn't understand why. Until whispers reach her, Some of the warriors believe she is a spy for the white settlers, that she will lead her people to destroy the tribe from within. The rumor spreads quickly. It begins with Dakota, a younger warrior known for his temper and ambition. He was once close to Chayton, but now his pride festers, fueled by resentment. The wolf grows tame, he sneers to others. He bows to a white woman and calls it peace. The words spread like poison. Even some of the elders start to question whether the gods will bless a union that defies tribal law. Chayton says nothing of the murmurs at first, but Elena sees the tension in his shoulders, the fire in his eyes when he returns from council meetings. When she asks what's wrong, he tells her only. Some men forget that peace is harder to keep than war. His tone is calm, but she senses the storm inside him. Meanwhile, beyond the canyon, another danger brews. Elena's father, Samuel Marlowe, has not slept since the day his daughter was taken. Though their truce holds on paper, rumors have reached him that she is being held captive, that the Apache plan to use her as leverage for more land and cattle. Guilt gnaws at him. His men urge him to act. "We can't trust them," one says. "Your daughter's life is worth more than any treaty." Against his better judgment, Samuel begins to gather a small force of armed settlers. Their goal, to rescue Elena and destroy Chayton's village if necessary. Unaware of her father's plans, Elena continues to try to prove her loyalty. She helps the women mend tents, tends to the sick, and even learns to grind herbs for healing. Tala, the elder woman, praises her quietly, saying, "You have a strong heart, child. The earth will see it soon." But the whispers won't stop. When a hunting party returns with fewer horses than they left with, Dakota accuses Elena of signaling the enemy. The council is divided. Some demand she be cast out. The night that follows is heavy with dread. Chayton sits alone by the fire, staring into the flames. Elena approaches him, trembling. "You can't keep defending me," she pleads. "They'll turn against you." He looks up, his eyes dark with pain. "They already have," he says, "but I will not give them your blood." That night, she overhears two warriors outside her lodge. Their voices are low but urgent. "The settlers are coming," one says. "They ride at dawn. If we do not strike first, they will bring war to our door again." Elena's blood runs cold. Her father, he's coming. But the tribe doesn't know that he believes she's a prisoner. They think it's an attack. In their eyes, the settlers' arrival confirms their fears. She was the bait all along. Realizing the truth, Elena makes an impossible choice. Before dawn, she slips from the village, wrapping herself in a shawl and mounting a borrowed horse. She rides through the cold desert air toward her father's camp, her heart hammering in her chest. She knows that if the Apache find her gone, they'll believe she's betrayed them. And if her father attacks, it will be the end of them all, of the fragile hope that she and Chayton had begun to build. Behind her, Chayton wakes to the sound of raised voices. Elena's lodge is empty. The tribe roars with fury, Dakota shouting that she's fled to summon her people. But Chayton's heart tells him otherwise. Without hesitation, he mounts his horse and rides into the canyon, following her trail through the dust and dawn. For he knows that love, even love born from fear, is worth more than pride. And if he cannot stop what's coming, then the land will drink blood again. The shadows of betrayal have fallen, and now, only truth or tragedy can bring light back to the desert. The first light of dawn stretches across the desert like a blade, sharp and merciless. Elena rides hard through the canyon, her breath catching in the cold morning air, her mind racing faster than her horse. The wind whips her hair into her eyes, but she doesn't slow. Every beat of the hooves echoes with dread. She must reach her father before it's too late. Behind her, the sun begins to rise, painting the cliffs red, the color of warning, of blood, of fate closing in. Hours later, she spots movement in the distance, dust clouds, glinting rifles, and the faint shape of wagons. Her father's men. Relief floods her for a moment, but it's quickly drowned by fear. If the Apache catch her here, they'll think she's betrayed them. If the settlers see her in Apache garments, they might shoot before they recognize her. She waves her arms frantically, shouting over the wind, "Father!" "Stop!" she cries. "It's me!" The caravan halts, and men raise their guns in confusion. Samuel Marlowe pushes through the crowd, disbelief and sorrow carved deep into his face. "Elena!" His voice trembles as he takes her in, sunburned, windblown, wrapped in native cloth. "God help me! What have they done to you?" "They haven't harmed me," she says breathlessly. "Father, you must turn back. Please, they're not what you think. Chayton kept his word. He's not holding me hostage. You'll start a war if you attack." But her father's eyes are clouded with years of bitterness and loss. "You've been deceived," he insists. "You don't know what they're capable of." Around them, his men murmur uneasily. Some lower their guns, seeing the desperation in Elena's face, but others whisper that it could be a trap. Before she can say more, the sound of horses thunders from the canyon behind her. Chayton and a dozen Apache riders emerge through the rising dust, fierce and silent as shadows. The settlers panic, raising rifles. Chayton raises his hand, shouting in English, "Hold your fire. We come for peace." But the tension snaps like dry wood. A nervous settler fires a shot, the crack splitting the air. The bullet misses, striking a rock beside Chayton's horse, but that single mistake ignites chaos. The canyon explodes with gunfire. Elena screams, running between them, waving her arms. "Stop, stop this." Her words are lost in the roar of rifles and war cries. Chayton dismounts, pushing her toward cover. "Stay down," he commands, drawing his weapon, not to kill, but to shield his people. Dust clouds rise, filling the air with the stench of gunpowder and fear. Through the haze, Elena sees her father aiming directly at Chayton. She runs forward, crying out, "Father, no!" and throws herself between them just as the rifle fires. The sound rings in her skull. Pain sears through her shoulder. The world tilts. She falls, the sky spinning above her like a storm. Chayton's shout echoes, a raw, wordless sound of anguish. He catches her before she hits the ground, cradling her against his chest as chaos freezes around them. The firing stops. The men, Apache and settler alike, stand stunned at the sight of her blood spilling onto the earth. Samuel lowers his gun, horror flooding his face. "Elena, what have I done?" he whispers, staggering forward. Chayton's voice breaks as he looks up, his hands slick with her blood. "This is what hatred brings," he says fiercely. "This is what your vengeance has done." His words cut through the silence like thunder. No one dares move. Even the wind holds its breath. With trembling hands, Samuel falls to his knees beside them. "Help her," he begs. "Please, help her." The Apache women rush forward, pressing claws against her wound, murmuring prayers. Chayton carries her back toward the village, refusing to let anyone else touch her. The settlers watch in silence, their anger swallowed by shame. By the time the sun dips low again, the canyon is quiet. The blood-soaked dust has dried, and the echoes of battle fade into uneasy stillness. The Canyon of Fire, as it will come to be called, is where two worlds collided, and where one woman's courage forced both sides to see the cost of their hatred. Elena drifts in and out of consciousness, feeling the rhythm of Chayton's heartbeat beneath her cheek as he whispers to her in Apache, words she doesn't understand but feels in her soul. And for the first time, the desert, once a place of division, holds the fragile promise of something greater than vengeance, The faint, trembling beginning of forgiveness. The days following the battle in the Canyon of Fire are shrouded in silence. The guns are gone, the echoes have faded, but the air remains heavy, thick with the weight of guilt, grief, and unspoken change. In the Apache village, Elena lies pale and weak upon a woven mat, her shoulder tightly bound with healing herbs. The wound still burns, but she is alive. The Apache healers work tirelessly, guided by the soft-spoken elder Tala, whose hands move with the patience of centuries. Beside her, Chayton keeps constant vigil. He has not slept for 2 days. His once proud face, always unreadable, now carries the exhaustion of a man who has looked into the heart of tragedy and seen his own reflection there. Every few hours, he dips a cloth into cool water and presses it against her forehead. He whispers to her in Apache, soft words of strength and faith. Though she does not understand the language, Elena feels the tenderness in every syllable. When she finally stirs, her first sight is of him, sitting motionless, his dark eyes fixed on the dying fire. "You stayed," she whispers faintly. His gaze softens and he nods. "I will always stay." Tears prick her eyes. Did anyone else die?" He looks down. "Some of my men. Some of your fathers. Enough to remind both sides what hate costs." A shadow crosses her face. "My father?" Chayton hesitates, then says, "He lives. He waits outside the village. He will not leave until he knows you are well." His tone carries neither forgiveness nor anger, only weary understanding. In the following days, as Elena recovers, the village undergoes a transformation. The Apache and settlers, once divided by fear, now share an uneasy truce. The women trade medicine and food. The wounded are treated side by side. Tala says quietly, "The spirit saw her blood fall on both lands. That means peace is bound to her name." But not everyone accepts this new harmony. Some warriors still mutter that the wolf has betrayed them, that he has sacrificed their pride to save a single woman. When Chayton hears these whispers, he does not respond with anger. Instead, he prepares something that will silence them in a way no weapon ever could. On the 7th day after the battle, as the sun sets in blazing gold over the canyon, the tribe gathers around the great fire. The settlers stand nearby, wary but respectful. Chayton steps forward, dressed in full ceremonial attire, his war paint stark, his posture regal. In his hands, he holds his sacred obsidian blade, the same weapon that has marked every victory of his warrior life. The blade gleams like black glass in the fireht. The people murmur. This weapon is not just steel. It is his honor, his legacy. Chayton raises the blade high, his voice echoing across the silent crowd. "For many years, I carried this blade to protect my people," he says, his tone fierce but steady. "It has taken lives in battle, defended this land, and earned me the name Wolf of the Red Mesa. But now I lay it down, not in defeat, but in choice." He kneels and plants the blade into the ground, letting his hands fall away. "From this day forward, I vow that my strength will no longer serve war. I will not lift a weapon until the land is healed, until peace belongs to both our peoples." Gasps ripple through the gathering. To renounce the blade is to renounce the very spirit of a warrior. Some of the younger men protest, but the elders remain still. They recognize what this act means. It is a vow of transformation, a gesture more powerful than any battle cry. Chayton turns to Elena, his voice softening. "You came into this world with fear in your heart," he says. "But it was your courage that stopped the fire. The Spirit saw it. So did I." Elena's eyes fill with tears. She reaches out her trembling hand and touches his, a quiet gesture of unity that speaks louder than any words. Then, to everyone's astonishment, Samuel Marlowe steps forward from the settler's side. His face is lined with remorse, his hat clutched in his hands. "You have my respect," he says hoarsely, "and my forgiveness, though I don't deserve yours. If my daughter still wishes it, I'll honor this peace." The elders exchange glances, and then one by one they nod. Tala steps forward, lifting her hands to the sky. "Then let this day be remembered," she proclaims. "The day the wolf laid down his teeth and found his heart." As the sun sinks and the first stars appear, the fire burns brighter than ever. The blade gleams at its base, no longer a symbol of war, but of hope. And for the first time in memory, the canyon is filled not with the cries of battle, but with the sound of two peoples, breathing the same air in peace. Dawn breaks over the desert like a promise. The air is cool, the sky painted in gentle strokes of gold and rose, and for the first time in many seasons, the Apache village wakes not to war drums, but to laughter, the sound of life reborn. Children chase each other between the lodges, women hum softly as they prepare the morning meal, and men tend to their horses with quiet peace in their movements. The storm that once haunted their hearts has finally begun to lift. Elena, still weak but healing, steps out of her lodge wrapped in a light shawl. Her eyes sweep across the village she once feared, now filled with faces she has come to know. Where once there was suspicion, now there is cautious acceptance. When she passes, a few of the women smile, not out of obligation, but sincerity. It feels like the earth itself has softened. Chaitin stands waiting for her near the ceremonial fire, his expression unreadable yet calm. He gestures for her to follow. "There is something I must show you," he says quietly. They walk beyond the village, toward the mesa where the wind carries whispers of the past. It's here that Elena first saw him, fierce, unyielding, terrifying. Now, the same place feels different, sacred. She follows him up the narrow path until they reach a clearing surrounded by red, stone and sagebrush. There, resting in the dust, is something she doesn't expect. A small wooden chest, beautifully carved with Apache symbols of life, unity, and rebirth. Chaitin kneels beside it, brushing his fingers along its edges. "This," he says, "is the gift I promised you." Elena frowns, confused. "Gift?" He nods, lifting the lid. Inside lies a folded piece of deerskin, carefully wrapped around several objects. A lock of raven-black hair tied with red thread, a small clay pendant shaped like a wolf's head, and a piece of parchment written in English. Elena blinks, her heart quickening as she recognizes her father's handwriting. Chaitin explains softly, "Your father came to me before he left. He said that no gold, no land could repay the blood spilled between our peoples. So he left this, his apology and his promise. He asked that I give it to you when the time was right." Hands trembling, Elena unfolds the parchment. Her father's message reads, "My dearest Elena, if you are reading this, it means peace has found its way to where hatred once ruled. I was a fool to let fear blind me. You were stronger than I ever knew. If the man beside you has chosen to protect rather than destroy, then you have found what I never could, faith in those I was taught to hate. My gift to you both is not wealth, but land, the land between our borders. It belongs to neither side now, only to you. Build there something new, something that remembers both our blood and our hope." Tears stream down Elena's face. The land he speaks of, the stretch of fertile valley between the Apache Canyon and the settler farms, has long been a source of conflict. Now, by giving it to them, her father has offered the one thing no treaty ever could, a future shared by both peoples. Chaitin watches her quietly, his gaze tender. "He said you were the bridge," he murmurs, "that your heart could heal what years of war could not." Overwhelmed, Elena turns to him. "But what will we do with this land?" He takes her hands in his. "We will build a place for all who wish for peace. a home that belongs to both the wolf and the dove. In that moment, the meaning of his wedding gift, the one that stunned the entire village, becomes clear. It is not gold, not cattle, not a token of ownership. It is a legacy of peace, born from sacrifice and courage. The gift is freedom, freedom for both tribes to exist without fear, bound by respect instead of chains. When they return to the village that evening, Chaitin calls the people together and announces the news. The reaction is one of astonishment, and then, slowly, hope. For generations, they have fought over land that only brought suffering. Now that same land will become a symbol of rebirth. Tala steps forward, her weathered face glowing in the firelight. "The spirits have chosen well," she says. "The wolf did not win a bride in battle. He earned her through honor. His gift will feed generations yet to come." The crowd bows their heads in reverence. Some cry, others smile. And as the fire crackles under the stars, Chaitin and Elena stand side by side, no longer captor and captive. Not even chief and wife, but partners in destiny, that night. As the village celebrates, Elena looks toward the horizon. The land between their worlds lies waiting, vast, wild, and free. And she knows that what began as a forced marriage has become something eternal. Love, fierce, improbable, and sacred, has not only changed their hearts. It has changed history itself, the end.